Welcome back to the class, everyone. We are currently in our third round of the final week. This is the last match of 3v3 that we have to deal with for the time being, and we are up against a guy named Alien. Let's go ahead and look just briefly here about what he's got set down. This is fairly comparable to what everyone is setting against us right now, and that is Malgus, it's Rey, it's Lord Vader. We actually do have an Iden team to worry about, and that's going to be a little complicated because I really want to Wampa his Star Killer team. I think we have a really good shot at actually beating that with our Wampa. There's no potency on Mara Jade. And then he's got the good Lord Vader, which Fennec, bam, please, do something there. And then I actually don't know how we're going to handle this. They have a level 9 Dash Kron, and that seems super problematic. I don't know if I'm just going to be able to throw a Galactic Legend at that or what's going to happen. But our defense is relatively the same. Still running all of the stuff we are up here as well as down below. Testing out the new Savage Star Killer comp that we have going, and then, all my other normal stuff, Malgus, Lord Vader. I've actually really liked this defense overall, and that's kind of why I've been choosing not to change to it. But one thing that we should look at before we just completely jump into the match here is our opponent's overall stats. So he is going to be here towards the end. You can see here that he has 150 more relic levels than us. He also has a lot of other stuff going on in his account. He actually is kind of at the disadvantage here. It's mostly because of mods, and I don't mean to knock on the guy, but it's something that needs to be taken into account. We have him beat really badly in mods. Well over 115s, 200 more plus 10s, 80 more plus 20s, and then like 46 more plus 25. It's going to make a difference. And again, unless he has a bunch of 25% crons to make up for it, it's going to hurt him. Omicrons, he has the same amount we do. He does have a lot in the same characters. Like he has all three of Star Killers and all three of Malguses. I don't think that that's the best way to do things if you're on a kind of Omicron budget, and I think we are given the current state of things. But overall, that's what we're looking at. He has all the Galactic Legends, of course, but he doesn't have Profundity, so it's a fairly even match as far as actual characters go. So, that being said, let's go ahead and get to the whacking. Alright, so we're going to get started with the battles, and as always, I think this has pretty much been every single time that we've gone into a 3v3 match. We're going to start off with Lord Vader, and we're going to need to take our Fennec and Lord Vader versus this, and I don't think this is an exact win condition, but the opposing team had the really good level 9 where they had the cooldown, not the cooldown reduction, the fast ult. But they actually, and you'll see this in the battle, they didn't have the right level 6. They did not have the constant cooldown decrease. They actually had the one that gives you a cooldown decrease when someone jumps below 50%. And that's kind of a big deal because they can't just ever make Fennec die from dots. And Lord Vader also isn't getting back to his heal constantly. So their Royal Guard, even though his R7 goes significantly, or goes down significantly faster than all the rest. So this is going just really, really well. As you can see, we've already got both the sides killed. We're going to be able to go in right on Lord Vader. We've already gotten all 4 stacks of armor shreds. So really now he's going to go down like a sack of potatoes here in a second. So we get him one kick that was pretty good. Didn't get retribution because we didn't have grief, and we were able to tank the hits pretty well. And then, yeah, he eventually just gets to a point where he can't recover because he can't use his heal often enough, and he just dies. So full banners on that, or as good as close as full banners we can get. So this one's actually really complicated. The reason why we have Thrawn here, and the reason why we didn't just do a Vader solo like Vader and Piet, is because we specifically needed a character that would be able to remove Foresight that would go before Vader, but wouldn't go before Hoda. So Thrawn actually ended up falling to that perfectly because the character also needed to be over R5. And yeah, it was a very specific thing, because if Hoda called in Haldo and Haldo gave Foresight to Rey, then we wouldn't be able to land all of our debuffs on the first one, and we wouldn't have been able to get the loot. Because with there only being 3 characters, you have to land a certain amount of debuffs to be able to keep this loop continuous like you're seeing. And we're specifically hitting Hoda with the ability block, because that way it's guaranteed, since he's a Jedi, it can't be resisted. And then with the other characters, we're just using the AoEs on them constantly. And I'm trying to time this correctly, so we get Rey A, low enough so that the Coin Blade will actually kill her, but also B, not low enough that we trigger damage move, because we've done that before and it's costed us I think it cost us the entire match, if I'm being honest. We got her down exactly where she needed to go, told her, got rid of her, and by this point, Haldo's not going to kill us. So we were actually even able to call her even with crit immunity. So that went really well. Now we have to take out the Malgus team. We do swipe first just so that Zombie is taunting immediately. From here, I don't know how much they could do from the very beginning. There's definitely nothing they can do now. The Malgus does have his Datacron, so he's constantly using his special that doesn't let him taunt. So not only are, he's not hitting the right character, but he's also not taunting, so we can go right after Talon. And I mean, that wasn't a win condition. We were gonna win this no matter what, but that does make the battle go a little bit faster, which is nice. We do. I'm trying to remember if we actually do our ultimate here. A lot of times I don't, just because it's kind of pointless. But I guess Malgus doesn't have any reduced mastery, so we might as well be reducing double the amount by being in our ultimate. And it probably would have taken significantly longer had we not waited for it, even with the animation. So, yep, Malgus goes down. We reduce his mastery. Doesn't ultimately end up having a lot, and we get the 56 there. So very good for us. Now here, this was an interesting choice, and this is unwise, but you'll see why here in a minute. So the Starkiller actually had a ton of health. He had full health sets, and I think he had a health primer. He did have a crit damage triangle, if I remember correctly, but he was pretty hard health, which makes Wampa a really easy win for him because the dots just eat him and he dies like that. Mara was actually really slow too. She was only about 340, and on top of that, she didn't have any potency. So Wampa was a for sure win. The reason why that wasn't wise was because I now don't have an Iden counter. This Iden doesn't even have a good datacron, but she's R7. As you can see, both Echo and Hunter died before they immediately got to go. That team actually had pretty good stats, but I think a lot of people are still fighting either Gear 11 or maybe even like low relic Idens, and Iden does a stupid amount of damage to R7. So it looks like I accidentally cut it out. We went with Padme. She one-shot my R5 Ahsoka, so bummer. So we end up having no choice but to take in our C. And this, I mean, this isn't great. I mean, it'll probably be fine. They probably don't have a Galactic Legend on the back wall, but at the same time, I could have done this from the very beginning and saved myself both my Bad Batch as well as my Echo, or not my Echo, my Padme team, which are pretty, not universal, but they kill a wide amount of things in 3v3 for me. So now we're having to come in and just clear out the other teams, and he did, if I remember correctly, this opponent did cheese his top wall quite a bit. His bottom wall obviously had mostly good things. This Embo team was not good. This is like a bad use of grease, in my opinion. But we come in here with our bounty hunters, just immediately get rid of Embo. He's the real damage dealer. He also has the more consistent dispel on the team, or the most consistent dispel on the team. And then we just work Cad Bane down, and, you know, he eventually just dies. We do lose our taunt, but, you know, didn't have enough damage to do anything. So now this is crucial. This dash has the really good datacron, and on top of that, he has about 50% deflection and dodge. So if I don't come against this team if I don't come against this team without a way to have an unavoidable attack, I'm probably just dead in the water. Because deflection and dodge, it covers all the bases besides things that can't be avoided. So I'm taking shock for the cleanse. I didn't know they could do this. They stun shock. She cleanses it because of JML's, I think it's his leadership or unique or a combo of the two. And then he stuns him again. So I'm like, okay, that's really kind of crappy here. I'm trying to think about what to do. And I'm like, all right, let's just do the AoE, see what we can land. And this does kind of suck because now the two of them are dazed, and because Shock got stunned, I couldn't cleanse. But eventually we do get back around. We go right for dash, and the reason is the only way we're hitting these guys is with Jedi Master Leake's leadership ability, which is where all of our damage is coming from. And it doesn't crit, so we can probably just kill Dash before we kill Chewbacca and not really have to worry about his datacron. That's exactly what happened. It worked perfectly. We're fine. But still, like, that's not great. So here, this is me trying to test out a counter that worked last time that didn't work this time. We used this last match, and it felt really good with the amount of foresight and things that were going on. The issue is, apparently, and I didn't pay attention enough to this, Jedi Anakin didn't crit on the last battle and kill my whatchamacallit, my first order TIE pilot, and he did this time, and that's apparently the win condition, so I probably won't be doing that from now on, but it was cool when it worked the one time. So now, we go ahead and take in this team against Jin. I was actually a little afraid of this. I was like, do we have enough damage to get through Adrad? He has so much survivability, but I was pretty darn sure by taking in Cam and having his armor shred on top of the amount of damage that we'd be getting from him and GMY, just wouldn't be beatable. So we're still doing that whole Savage Starkiller thing on, Savage Starkiller thing on defense. So we're taking this on offense. This is a little sketchy. I came in and I immediately saw that Bossk goes before my Mara, which is pretty fast, even with Zam. However, nobody goes next to trigger his frenzy, so it didn't matter at all. We were able to go in and, as you guys can see, completely take control of the battle. Trying to be a little bit careful here because Boba didn't get stunned the first time around, so I'm like, okay, do they have like some type of tenacity? Which, looking back now, tenacity down would have negated any of that anyways. but he resisted like 3 or 4 like important debuffs for decreasing his turn meter. Anyways, doesn't matter. He's dead. They're all dead. Boba Fett comes back. We're able to knock him down. This team just has a pretty good amount of turn meter. We don't have a very good Datacron. We have one that gives a little bit of turn meter with debuffs, which is Emperor Palpatine's lead is kind of doing too, so that's fun. Now this one's always sketch. So if I have as you can see, I have a Relic 1 car as well as a Relic 1 Hoth Rebel Scout. If they were Relic 5, this would be a very different battle. Because the big glaring issue here is if Jango gets off a big enough a hit on one of them, then they can't be revived. And that's pretty much all it takes to lose. So we go ahead and just charge immediately for B1. And this is funny. A lot of characters have different clauses. Jango's clause for his Annihilate is it has to be on his turn. So even though Nute is the one who called him in and Jango got the kill, since it wasn't on his turn, it didn't negate the revive. So Mon Mothma was able to bring him in, and then Jango just starts to make a lot of unwise life choices here by hitting our summon, who even if he does kill him, can actually come back because it's not technically a revive, it's a summon. So we just go ahead and keep on Jango for the most part because I don't want to have to deal with anything that he's doing. Always cleanse the extortion. Trying to get turn meter withdrawal wasn't worth spreading extortion. We promote our guy there to level 2 or whatever that is for him, and now he's going to start doing significant more damage because we're going to get defense penetration out on the field, and everyone's just going to die, and it's all going to be great. So this for the most part goes fine, but I would really like to have R5 car and R5 Hoth Rebel Scout to be able to not worry about Jango getting a one shot, because this is the second time we've done this, and Jango's just left someone in the red. And if you would have killed them, not only would they have died, but they would have been permanently dead, and we would have had no shot from there. Nute does, I think, steal some of my banners here and then. We get really close to getting him all the way down, but he just keeps doing things, and it's, they had a decent amount of dodge. I think they had like 11% dodge, which actually did appear in the fight multiple times. We're going to be able to take our crew versus the Dooku team. Luckily, one of the things that we looked at the beginning is that this opponent's mods aren't the best, especially at the very high end. The middle end, they're somewhat comparable, but very high end, it's difficult. So we're able to go first, control Dooku so we don't get stuck in stealth behind their nest, take him out. We're able to control Droideka pretty well. Two turn stun, I've always said this, and it doesn't age as well as maybe some things, but especially in 3v3, gosh darn it is hard to get around. So we keep pumping around buffs. We're trying to get back to full banners here, but Fox said no, so there's that. Go ahead and take in our Geos now versus Bam. We've used this counter quite a bit this season. I do think the Mandalorian variation of Bam, which really isn't a variation at all, is significantly easier than the Queel and the IG. Queel they're such a pain in the butt. They just keep getting in your way. They have so much survivability. They spread stats around. It's not fun. This was not difficult by any stretch of the imagination. You go after Bam, nothing can stop you. There's no taunts or anything like that. Unless you're taking Mauled, I guess, which is definitely a bad idea. And then you just kill the sides, and you get full banners with Geonosian. So, pretty cool there. Now we get to take our Imps here. There's no 25% Terminator Chron because they're dark side, so very thankful for that. And then, we questioned this a little bit going into it just because, okay, does crew just heal too much for dark? But, he does hit multiple times, but he also doesn't crit, so he doesn't really get that much survivability from dark punching him in the face. And as you can see, it ultimately just didn't matter. We killed everyone. So, very nice there. Good 56. We're now going to go ahead and take our JTR versus a Finn team. At this point, there's 2 teams left. We have a bunch left over. Like I said, this guy kind of cheesed a little bit. So, we had a lot of options when it came down to the end. But the only thing left to beat after this is that Soldier Knight Anakin. And, spoiler alert, we have a lone Malik for that. Not the best way to make our split. We probably should have done that differently. But, you can't plan 100% perfectly every time. One thing I do try to do in this fight is I try to make sure to always put Foresight on BB-8 because they don't have any way to get through it. So they have to constantly hit it. And when they hit it, they healed not only him, but also R2, who never got damaged. So we were able to get a lot of protection back that way. I think we even get all the way. No, we don't get quite there. We got up to our almost there. So now everything on ground went well for the most part. We dropped 2 battles, but we have better mods than our opponent, and I think overall we set a better defense. So this also goes pretty swell. Tarkin really is not that hard to handle with Separatists. he brings in the Interceptor at a very convenient time for the Malevolence. Does it before we have charge or overcharge or whatever it's called out, and also before buzz droids are out. So the cleanse and the dispel are essentially just thrown in the toilet, and which is what leads to exactly what you guys are seeing now. We're able to kill Bomber pretty much immediately. We're able to bring in Spine. We can either kill the prototype or Vader, depending on who it lands on, and then you just gun down whoever else is left, and you get... that one was probably decent matters. That was probably closer to 67, because we lost Fun Sack. But yeah, put for Storm on defense, not a wise choice, I guess. He has a lot of viability on offense, and the mirror, this mirror is not that bad. The AI isn't typically smart enough to go right after the enemy silencer. They'll kind of mess around here and there, and all you have to do is go right after it and really prioritize it, and that's pretty much the win. This actually was a funny interaction though. So one of the reinforcement abilities of one of the First Order characters, I think it's Shuttle, means the reinforcements don't get turn meter, but the original TIE Fighter for First Order gives turn meter, and apparently also to himself. So in the mirror, it's taken away and given, so his reinforcement actually got to go before mine, even though mine was faster, or even though mine came out first. Anyways, didn't matter. Once their silencer was dead, this whole match was over. We have this in the bag, as you can see. I don't think that really needed further explanation, but did really well there. And now all we have to do is use our Rebels versus their Hollow team, which is also like, it's a very straightforward fight. They have a lot of buffs. We have a very consistent buff to spell. I guess it is worth saying, commit to the tank. I watched someone recently do this, and they either lost or almost lost. I don't remember the outcome now. They probably didn't lost. I probably would have remembered that. But they kept, every single time the taunt went down on the tank, they kept trying to go for something else, and it just kept taunting again. I'm like, okay, this is, like, you just need to commit, kill the tank, and then kill the attackers and be done with it. And I still think it's the right strategy. But that being said, once you do get everyone else, or once you do get it down, it would be great to go after the Falcon, because that AoE of hers is just nasty. So we go ahead and bring in our Cassian now. It's at a convenient time. The Clone Sergeant no longer has protection, so he's not going to keep taunting and being really annoying and whatnot, and we're going to be able to kill everyone. And that's exactly what happens. We're able to huddle down, take down Poe now, and then on top of that, we're able to kill Sarge, and then, I mean, it's just the one lone fighter left there. Even if they were to get their ult at this point, it wouldn't matter. We would have them in a pretty hard corner here. Trying to figure out what the Y-Wing does, because I do not know his kit that well. Dispel debuffs. Yeah, trying to figure things out there. But we do eventually get everyone down, and that's nice. And I do not have the actual report to show you how our opponent did. The battle history will actually probably be up very soon from when I'm recording this. But what ended up happening in the end was our opponent took in their whatever against my Savage Starkiller team, lost one battle, and immediately quit. They took their 10 banners, and I don't know if it looked like too much work for them, or they just didn't have enough time, or whatever. But I mean, they made it to the finals. So they had to have been trying in some regard somewhere along the ways. But I'll take the 3-0, and that actually makes it 7-2 for the season. So we'll see if I'll finally plateau in the post-Datacron world, or if things will continue to shift. But that is going to be it for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay awesome.